See, now you're cheating. With the two categories. You know? That's one aspect of it. That's the branches of one of the categories. Hadathiyah, which is major and minor, from the ritual purification. This is the stuff you can't see. You don't know if a person is in it, such as asghar wal akbar, sughra wal kubra. So here that when you break your wudu, when you use the bathroom, when you do any of the nullifiers of wudu, that you get into a state of impurity. This is al-hadath. You are in a state of ritual impurity. So here it is forbidden for you to pray until you do what? Purify yourself. Purify yourself from the ways which we will come to of either performing wudu or performing ghusl. The second one, did you mention it? That was the one. An impurity, najis. So it's anything that is najis, that is physically impure or unclean. By the legislation, and we inshallah will probably get into that next class, not this class but next class. The things that are what is quote unquote physically impure or impure, the things that if it gets on your body, if it gets on your thobe, if it gets on your area of praying or whatever, it must be what? It must be removed. It must be removed and clean. So those are your two categories of purification, which we discuss in the chapter of purification. That when we discuss purification, we are discussing those two things. But what is the most important aspect of purification? This is a slider. No, you're right, but see, you're not. You're right, but it's not the answer I want. Tahara of what? Huh? The Sheikh began with it. What did he begin with? Go ahead. No. What did he begin with in his chapter of Tahara? Again, we're discussing what? Aspects of jurisprudence, but what did he begin with? Okay. He started with a tawheed wa aqidah. That's the most important thing that an individual can purify first. Right? And this is from the wisdoms of why the Sheikh began with this aspect or this angle. Why? Because he knew that this particular book, this book specifically, would come in the hands of who? The new Muslim. The one who is beginning learning that of the aspects of jurisprudence. But he took the opportunity to explain also the important points of La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah and how to build upon that in that aspect. So tahar, but what we are discussing in our classes is from those two sides. Hadathiyah, and then, or the ritual impurity and the physical impurity. Now, what is the main difference between the two? What is the main difference between the two? What must you have that you don't have to have in the other? Were you here last week? You were? All right, so I expect something. You want the brother to help you out? Okay, what about it?
You don't have to have it when you have to have it when it's something that is from a physical means. You don't have to have ritual purification.
You're close. You're not getting it. You're not missing one important word. Go ahead. Your intention. Therefore, when you make a ritual impurity, you have to have an intention. Wudu, ghusl, whatever it may be, there has to be an intention present to what? To remove that ritual impurity, right? But now, if you have an impurity on your garment, do you have to have an intention to remove it? No. If there's impurity, for an example, on the rug, let's just say for an example, and it starts to rain, and it removes that impurity. The impurity is removed. But now the same scenario, if it starts to rain and we want to make wudu, we have to have an intention in order to remove that particular the ritual impurity. So then we went into the aspects of water. And here it was broken into what? Likewise, how many categories? Huh? You got sunk in. You got pulled in. Nope. Two categories. That which is tahur, that which is pure within itself and has the ability to what? Purify something else, like water. Then likewise, that which is impure, which is najis, which is not permissible, which is something that is impure within itself and does not have the ability to remove any type of impurity or whatever the case may be. So one is permissible to use and one is impermissible. Then we went into the discussion of a break off of the water that is deemed tahur or a purifier, agent of purification, and that is something when it mixes with something that is pure, tahir. So you have pure water, like we had the example with our water bottle, that without any doubt, that is something of an agent of purification. But now let's say it mixes with something that is pure. What is something that is pure? Something that is not impure. So, for instance, we might add sugar to it. We might add tea to it, or we might add some chemicals to it, or whatever the case may be. What now is the ruling of that water? It has to be explained. It has to be broken down to a point of understanding that if that water remains upon its origin, even if it mixes with something tahir, that it might still remain an agent of purification. Such as what? Such as, for instance, if you have salt water. Salt water, if you mix it and it remains and it doesn't overcome. Now, it's very important that we understand this point, that it doesn't now become something else. So meaning that now that thing, it's still under a ruling of water. Even though it has changed with something tahir, that now if it remains upon the usage of water. So if I say this is water, even though it changed with something tahir, it is permissible to use. Contrary to an example like tea. So if you take water and put a tea bag in it, what changes? The color, the taste, the smell, not so much maybe. I don't know. Maybe if you use mint tea. You put mint tea in there, it now changes. So now that thing, which was water, has changed from one thing to what? Another. It has now become tea, not water. So here now, even though it is mixed with something pure, it is not permissible to make purification with it. Why? Because now it is not an agent of purification. It is not an agent of purification, and now it is now a refreshment. It is now a refreshment. But now, for instance, we have something called coconut water or rose water or something of those types of waters. Is it permissible to use those? No. Why? Because the name is not given an absolute name of what? Water. It is not given the absolute name of water. So if it has rocks in it, branches, trees, mud, what's the algae, whatever might grow in the water, as long as we take that water and say this is water, that here it is permissible to make wudu. Now, if one of the descriptions of something najis, if it mixes with something najis, and its taste, the smell, or the color changes, then it's clear. It's clear what? Now that thing has become impermissible to use to purify from ritual impurity and likewise physical impurity. And here a brother asked last week about touching the impurity. Touching the impurity, physical impurity, such as like changing a diaper, and you know what I mean. You wipe and then you get a little defecation on you or urine, possibly on you or something of that nature. Does it break your wudu or nullify your wudu? Do you have to make wudu over again? And I hear no, because why? The things that nullify one's wudu are legislated. They're given proofs and evidences of what breaks or nullifies the wudu. And touching something that is impure does not nullify one's wudu. And there's a fatwa of Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah, and many others likewise, that establish this particular point. So here we have a thing we want to ask or throw out a question out there real quickly. Now, what if you have something that is najis on your garment, or najis on your body, or impure on your body, or impure in your area, and you don't have water, but you have, for instance, Hawaiian punch or juice or something of that nature, something that is tahir? Can you use that thing to purify that area? Can you use that liquid to purify that particular area? Huh? Only if it's an agent of purification. Shukran. Everybody agree with him? Do we have a consensus? No? No? Over here? So right and left are a consensus. And here the scholars differ. So here we have a consensus, but the scholars, they actually differ. That some say that verily because the najis, the thing that is impure, is a thing. It's a physical thing. That once you remove that physical thing, the ruling of the impurity has been removed. No matter how you remove it. No matter how it is removed. And this is the position of the Jamhur. So if you do use something other than pure water, such as this, to purify an area and remove it, you remove the najasa from that area, that meaning nothing remains from the physical impurity, then the Jamhur ulama, they mention that this is permissible, that it is permissible. And that there are positions that say it is not permissible, in differing in that regards. But here, based upon that understanding, that if you do remove it with that here, inshallah, your garment is pure. Your garment is pure. With the exception of what? With the exception of what? No, of an impurity. Physical impurity. One physical impurity. No. That's all ritual. You have to use water for that. Huh? Who? No. There's one thing that specifically is prescribed. You raise your hand. You made a movement. You got my attention. Huh? No. What's the one thing that water must be used to remove a physical impurity?
Would it be male seminal fluid?
A garment, whatever. Go ahead. Say what? Sweat? No. Sweat isn't impure. We all be in trouble if that was the case. Huh? No. And it's a good sign. It's a good sign we don't know. The saliva of a dog. The saliva of a dog. Is that what you said? Okay. That here the Prophet ﷺ said that with 7 washings of the licking of a dog. So here, in that circumstance, that here it's a little bit more emphasized of using water. But for instance, if there is defecation, if there is something and you can remove it with something other than water, that here the majority of the scholars say that it is permissible. Then we finally took the aspects of the vessels. And here we stuck with what the Sheikh mentioned in regards to that of dealing with the vessels, of dealing with gold and silver. And we will get to another point of dealing with the vessel that is tanned. Like a leather bag. The leather bag of an animal or the skin of an animal that is tanned in the sun. But here the Sheikh only mentioned what? Gold and silver. So here the actual usage of the vessels for whatever reason of gold and silver is impermissible absolutely upon who? The ania is impermissible upon who? The usage of the ania is impermissible upon who? The males? Huh? Everybody agree with that? No? Allah Alam? That's a good answer. Huh? It's impermissible on both. It's impermissible on both. So a man and a woman can't use a bowl, a spoon, a fork, a plate, whatever it may be, a cup, made from gold and silver, based upon the hadith that the Sheikh mentioned. The Sheikh mentioned that they are for who? They for us in Jannah and for the people of disbelief, the people of the book, in this life. So here they use them in this life. We refrain from using them because we will be rewarded with that in the hereafter. But now as far as the jewelry, that here the Sheikh mentioned that it is permissible upon one and impermissible upon the other. Huh? It's impermissible upon the male, except for occasion of a ring, silver ring. We mentioned also that of dealing with cosmetics, like for instance prosthetics, using it as a prosthetic, which we mentioned is a little outdated. But back then, if a person went to battle and got his hand chopped off, it wouldn't be strange that he would be prescribed with what? If he had the money, a golden or silver hand. Or his nose. They usually mention that of the nose. If his nose got cut off, that they would give him a gold or silver nose. In these circumstances, that it would be permissible. And likewise, the teeth, mentioning that of the teeth and the braces or whatever the case may be, all based upon what is more better. And that goes back to the doctor or the dentist of whatever it might be done. And then likewise on the swords or the weapons. And the weapons for a man to have it on his weapon is also permissible. And then also a small amount in order to repair a damaged vessel, likewise is also permissible, but strange in a sense that, sewing or stitching up a vessel with silver chain is maybe not done as commonly in this day and time. So those are the times when it is impermissible. I meant when it is permissible for a man. And as for a woman, what? Absolutely. No matter what it may be, bracelet, necklace, earrings, rings, banglets on the ankles, whatever it may be, as much as they want, is permissible for them. And that is from the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon them. So here a quick question. What now if we make wudu from one of those vessels? For instance, we come and we make wudu from a gold bowl or silver bowl. What is the ruling of our wudu? Why would it be invalid? Because of the prohibition from using one of those vessels. Okay? Who's on the same page? Okay. Okay, but let's say you do. You got to do it again? It would be invalid?
I would say it's valid, but you're sinful.
Assent. Good job. That it would be valid, but you fall under a sin. You fall under a sin. And this is something a little bit deeper, but that's the baseline of it. That's the baseline of it, that it would be a valid wudu, but you would be making wudu from sin. Likewise, if you had a stolen vessel. Wa'yadu billah. If you had a stolen vessel, it would be impermissible to make wudu from that vessel because it's impermissible to have that vessel. But if you did make wudu from that vessel, you would be making wudu that is correct, but you would be doing a sin. Huh? Oh, yeah, knowingly. No, yeah, knowingly. If you know, you're going to know it's... if that's what you have to do. If you do it, and then maybe you just do it. That's always the ultimate question. Why do you sin? So here you can get 50, 60 answers and keep it going. But if you do, know that your wudu is valid. Your wudu is valid, but you incur a sin for it. That must, make it istighfar and take the means of expiation from that sin. Allah musta'an. So that was our previous lesson. So we covered the meaning of a tahara. We covered the ruling of the water. And then we covered the rulings or the dealings with the aniya, the vessels that you would use to perform wudu, if you use a vessel to perform wudu, or if you let the water run or whatever the case may be. So today, inshallah, we will be going over the aspects of using or relieving oneself and cleaning oneself afterwards. So istinja, cleaning oneself with water, the private parts with water, and the mannerisms of relieving oneself. So here we will read the kalam of the Shaykh Rahimahullah, and then go over the little chart, the breakdown of it. So here the Shaykh Rahimahullah, he says, Bab istinja wa adab al-qada al-haja. So the chapter of dealing with cleaning oneself with water, istinja is a fairly familiar word with us, and the mannerisms of relieving oneself. So answering the call of nature, however, whatever you want to call it. So here he mentions yastahib. What's this word? Here we'll stop at these points here because we went over. Yastahib. What's that mean? That it's recommend. Ahsant. That here is that if somebody does it, he gets rewarded. But if he doesn't do it, what? He is not punished. He is not punished. But more on a specific, that's the athar of it. What is the meaning of it? What is the meaning of it? That it's a talib. It's a request from the legislator. That's what? Not something that is binding. Not something that is required to do. Ghayra jazm. So it's opposite of wajib. Wajib is something that is lazim. That it is a must that you perform. And that if you do perform it, you what? You get a reward. And if you abandon it, what? You get a punishment. Or mustahab, or something that is a sunnah, that here, that it is also a request from the creator or the legislator, but it is not what? It is not binding. It is not required that you perform it. It is not required that you perform it. So if you do it, you receive the reward. But if you abandon it, for whatever reason, likewise, you do not receive a punishment. Either dakhala khala. A khala is the bathroom. The khala is the bathroom. And yuqaddim rijlahu yusra wa yuqul bismillah. So here he says that you put forth the right foot. You put forth the right foot. So either dakhala khala. When you go in, you go in with your right foot. Left foot, I'm sorry. Your left foot. You go in with your left foot. Wa yuqul bismillah. And say bismillah. So again, this is sunnah. This is sunnah. It's not something that is required because there is no real specific narration supporting this. Meaning that the Prophet ﷺ went in on his left foot or anything like that. It's a general narration on Hafsa, I believe, and Aisha too, that yu'jibuhu, that like he used to love everything that was good with his right, that he would begin everything that was good with his right. So here it's that of going into the khalat, to the bathroom, is not something which is, you know what I mean, the best of thing. It's a filthy situation. And he said Bismillah. So he said, Bismillah, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuth wa khaba'ith. So here there are two separate narrations that the Shaykh Rahimahullah put together. He put together in this regards that you have one, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuth wa khaba'ith. That here, this particular narration is found in Bukhari wa Muslim. That this narration is found in Bukhari wa Muslim, I believe on the authority of Anas. Somebody can double check me on that. This is mutafaqun alayh, this dua, that when you enter, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuthi wa khaba'ith, that here this love is agreed upon by Bukhari wa Muslim. As for Bismillah, this comes from other narrations that aren't agreed upon. So here to say Bismillah prior to entering into that area and then following it with that of a supplication is something that is highly recommended. It is something that is highly recommended, and it is seeking the assistance with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bismillah. About isti'ana. So here you see that here you are seeking Allah's help in entering, and then seeking refuge with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, min al-khubthi wal-khaba'ith. And khubthi wa khaba'ith is generally translated as the male and female jinn, or that of the jinn, and everything that is filthy. And everything that is filthy. And all are acceptable. All are acceptable meanings when it comes to that of seeking refuge with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And here we want to take a brief moment before proceeding, that this chapter is from the chapters of proving and showing the what? The muhasin of Islam. And likewise the fadl of Islam. That here we don't have anything that is left off for our own desires or our own thought. And that this comes apparent and clear from the hadith of Salman. That when the Jew came to him and said that the Prophet ﷺ didn't leave anything for you, not even using the bathroom. And he came at him how? In a matter of mockery and, belittlement. That look, you don't have anything left for you, not even how to use the bathroom, except the Prophet ﷺ taught you. And Salman said, of course. And then he explained to him exactly, point by point, on what? How the Muslim uses the bathroom. And this is important from the aspect of what? When somebody comes and says, oh, look, why do you dress like that? Or why do you do that? Why does the Muslim do this? That be equipped with the barahin and refute it point by point. Yes, the Prophet ﷺ said A, B, C, D, and E. This is what the Muslim does. This is how we conduct our life. This is a proper reply to somebody who is trying to mock the religion of Islam or even to mock you. You don't have to get upset. You don't have to get, all out of shape and everything of that nature. Simply point by point yes, the Prophet ﷺ commanded us to not face the Qibla. To when we wipe ourselves, we don't use this or that. And then we only use 3 stones. So here he made it clear that he said that this is how we use the bathroom. So this is from that of the muhasin of Islam. And I heard Sheikh Abdul Razak al-Badri, that he gave a little side note on this point, that one time one of the students told him that he was praying Taraweeh next to somebody. And he recited, the Imam got to the ayat, Yas'alunaka an mahid. They ask you about the menstrual cycle. And then Allah commands them, فَأْتَزِلُهُنَّ, to remain away from them while they're in their mahid until they purify themselves. So while they were in the prayer, the man started crying at that ayat, which is, a little strange in a sense that he's crying about a ruling. It's not about the hellfire. It's not about the punishment. It's not about these things. It's about women having their menstrual cycle. And the man started crying. So after the prayer, he went up to him and said, I want to ask you, when he recited that ayat, you started crying, what was that about? And he says, SubhanAllah, our deen is perfect because Allah didn't leave anything unturned. Now, everything was taken care of, even from the aspect of purification. So it shows you the beauty of the religion, shows you the perfection of the religion, that even from the aspect of the bathroom, it's covered. You don't have to worry about it. All you have to do is just do it. So you go to the bathroom, oh man, I got to use the bathroom. How do I relieve myself? Here, it's explained in the most perfect way. So here, firstly, is that of the dua. Mustahab to go in and recite the dua before entering into the bathroom. وَإِذَا خَرَجَ مِنْ. And now the Shaykh Rahimahullah, he's going on. When you leave the bathroom, قَدَّمَ يُمْنَى, that you go out with your right foot. وَقَالْ غُفْرَانَكَ. And he said, غُفْرَانَكَ. So he said, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive. And here again, forgiven for what? Forgiven for the shortcomings that we have in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and gratitude. Because here, after relieving oneself, taking care of the need of using the bathroom and everything, is a tremendous blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we take for granted. Well, we don't even really think about it to an extent. When we eat, got to go to the bathroom. But subhanAllah, if we didn't have that facility, what would happen? We would all be dead. It would build up. become something disgusting inside of our bodies to the point that we die. So here Allah Ta'ala made a way of relief to remove the filth from our bodies in an easy, simple fashion. So here, Ghufranak, that we fall short in being reminded of these great, tremendous blessings, and we fall short in being grateful and showing gratitude for those particular blessings. So then he mentions, Alhamdulillah alladhi adhaba anni adha wa afani. So he says, all praises to Allah who has removed from me this harm and has given me well-being, has given me a well-being. So here in my footnote, at least, I don't know if you brothers have it, here he says it's from the hadith of Anas, and in the Sanad is Ismail ibn Muslim al-Makki, وهو da'if. So here this narration is da'if. So it's not attributed to the Prophet ﷺ that this is something that he would say upon leaving the toilet or leaving the bathroom. And here it is mentioned, huwa muttafiq ala tad'if. So it is an agreement of all of the scholars of hadith that this hadith is weak. So here we have to ask the question, then why did the Shaykh mention it? Why did the Shaykh mention it? That here, of all of the scholars of hadith agree that this hadith is weak, then why would the Shaykh mention a weak hadith to support what you should say on going out? So if we go down a little bit more, that here in the footnote, he says, Rawahu ibn Sunni min hadith Abi Dhar. من حديث أبي ذر ولحافظ ابن حجر كلام طويل حول الحديث ذكره في تخريج الأذكار بحسن الرجوع إليه. In this, he mentions that this particular hadith on an Abi Dhar is what? Mawquf. Sahih mawquf. Meaning that it is from the statement of Abi Dhar. It is from the statement of Abi Dhar. Which makes it what? What makes it what? Do we know? Huh? Statement of a companion. It makes it a statement of a companion. So last week we mentioned that we have 4 proofs in Islam. 4 proofs in Islam. Who can remember them? Go ahead. Quran and Sunnah. Huh? That's the study. If we want to say a dalil, what's your dalil? What are you going to say? Huh? All right, Quran was Sunnah, we got that. We said there was 4. A qiyas and ijma. Ijma, consensus. These 4 proofs are agreed upon through every jurisprudence, or every jurist. Maliki, Hanafi, whoever. They all agree on these 4 things. But now there are proofs in Adillah that are what? They differ about. Is it a proof? Is it not a proof? And from them is what? A qawl as-sahabi. Some say that it is a proof. Others say it is not a proof. Like we mentioned. We mentioned that the ashab al-ra'i, when it comes to those things, they what? They leave them off a little bit. They leave them off a little bit. Whereas the people of hadith, they what? They focus on them. They focus on the statements of the Prophet ﷺ, as well as who? As well as the companions. As well as the companions. So here, the Shaykh obviously, rahimahullah, he leans towards what? Qawl as-sahabi what? Hujjah. That it is a hujjah. That it can be used in an establishment of a proof. So here, if one says it, but not believing that it is a sunnah. Now, the Prophet ﷺ, it's not the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, but he does it, and the words are good. Alhamdulillah. Praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who removed this harm from me and gave me well-being. No harm. As long with that condition that he knows that it is not what? The statement of the Prophet ﷺ. The statement of the Prophet ﷺ, and he remembers. He remembers that, subhanAllah, this tremendous blessing with that. So here he continues, وَيَعْتَمِدُ فِي جُلُوسِهِ عَلَى رِجْلِهِ يُسْرًا وَيَنْصِبْ يُمْنًا. So here is now the manner of sitting, the way of sitting in the time of relieving self. يعتمد في جلوسه على رجله يسرى. So here he sits on his left. وينصب يمنى. And Allah Alam, maybe one of you two brothers can help out. That I believe that it is that of having the knee up. The knee up. So if you sit on your left foot like that. See how he has it? That would be what this is talking about. So you would have your right knee up, like at your stomach, and then you would be sitting on your left foot. That would be the way that the Prophet ﷺ sat when he was relieving himself. And likewise, similar narration, that the hadith is also weak. The hadith is also weak, as it's mentioned in my footnote here. And Hafidh mentions that it is weak. So then he continues, وَيَسْتَتِرْ بِحَائِطْ أَوْ غَيْرِهِ, that he conceals himself with a wall or something similar. So to conceal yourself, from the onlookers or from the public, that you conceal yourself with that. And nowadays, modern day, in the bathroom, the stalls, or your room, the bathroom itself, the physical bathroom. But if you're out in public, if you're out and about, to find a secluded area away from places that it is not good, as we will come to, is what is the best. وَيُبْعِدُ إِنْ كَانَ فِي فَضَاء, and he goes away if he is in an open area, like in the desert. So if he's in the desert, he goes a distance. So the people that he is with will not see him. ولا يحل له أن يقضي حاجته في الطريق أو محل جلوس الناس أو تحت أشجار مثمر أو في محل يؤذي به الناس أشجار مثمرة أو في محل يؤذي به الناس. So these are the places that it is forbidden to relieve oneself in. The roads, whether they be walking or traveling, the places where the people sit, under fruit-producing trees. So like an apple tree, a peach tree, date tree, something along the lines of that. And likewise, the places that will be harmed by it. But the people will be harmed by it. Places where the people will be harmed by it. And here the Shaykh Rahimahullah left off a few, such as the graves. The graveyards. It is impermissible to relieve oneself in the graveyards. And likewise, which one else? And the Shaykh left this off, he made clear in the beginning. In the masajid, to urinate, defecate in the masajid, likewise. But that's clear. The Shaykh left that off because why? Because he mentioned in the book stuff that is totally clear, he's not going to mention. And I think I wrote some down. The animal holes, where animals bury or make a burrow, it is impermissible to urinate or defecate in them. And that was the ones. Huh? I mean, it would be the same thing. It's an animal. It has a hole. It's an animal hole. So to urinate in an animal hole would be impermissible. So then he continues, وَلَا يَسْتَقْبِلَ قِبْلَ أَوْ يَسْتَدْبِرُوهَا حَالَ الْقَضَاءِ الْحَاجَةِ. So likewise, he does not face or turn his back to the direction of prayer. And this is for Medina. For those in Medina or in that area, such as in Medina, that they would not face east or the west. Or they would not face north or south, right? They would not face south down to Mecca. And nor would they face north with their backs to the Qibla. وَلَا تَسْتَدْبِرُوهَا وَلَكِنْ شَرِّقُوا أَوْ غَرِّبُوا. So face the east or the west. And now obviously it's opposite for us. It's opposite for us because we face east or the west for the prayer. So here we would face north or south. We would face north or south because we faced east for the prayer, northeast. And that hadith is mutafaqun alayh. فإذا قضى حاجته استجمر بثلاث أحجار ونحوها تنقي محل. So here, when he finishes, he uses 3 stones or something similar. So for us, toilet paper or wipes. Tunqi, the area, that you clean the area. You clean the area of purification. Thumma istanji bilma, then use water. And this is the most clean way. This is the most clean way. So first you clean yourself with the toilet paper, and then you follow it up with water. You follow it up with water. وَيَكْفِي اقْتِصَارْ عَلَى أَحْدِهِمَا. And it is sufficient to only use one. It is sufficient to only use one. So if you only use water, or if you only use toilet paper, that is sufficient with the understanding that you remove the actual physical impurity, that you remove the physical impurity. وَلَا يُسْتَجْمَرْ, and you do not use for toilet paper, if we can put it in that word, بِرَوْث وَعِظَامٍ, with that of animal waste or bones. With animal waste or bones. So the dung of the animal, the defecation, the feces of an animal, and then likewise the bones. The bones of an animal are impermissible to use. كما نهى عنه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وكذلك كل ما له حرمة. And likewise anything that has a sacredness to it. Anything that has a sacredness to it. So here obviously you wouldn't tear the pages out of Minhaj al-Salikin and use it for toilet paper. Or any other book of Islami in that sense, that you wouldn't use it for to clean yourself with in that sense. So that is the end of the chapter in dealing with that. And the Shaykh, rahimahullah, left off an important point. Who knows what it is, huh? Okay, that's disliked. We'll get to that when we get to this little paper real quick. But something else that the Shaykh, rahimahullah, specifically didn't mention. No. Yeah, dealing with the bathroom. Cleaning yourself specifically. We mentioned stones. What about them, though? Can you elaborate? No? Anybody? Huh? Using it, yeah. Nobody? Go ahead. No. So what hand do we use when we use the bathroom? Left hand. We don't use our right hand. We don't use our right hand in touching nor cleaning. In cleaning. So if you use your right hand in cleaning, that is important that you try not to. You try not to. Use your left hand in cleaning yourself from any angle. From any angle. If it's just water or you use the toilet paper or whatever, you always want to make sure that you use your left hand. So that is the end of the chapter. And here we broke it down pretty simply in these little charts. So if you look at it, I broke it down into the 4 categories of the rulings. The rulings of dealing with the aspect of, wajib, mustahab, and the likes of that. So here the Shaykh Rahimahullah, he made clear that it is wajib to clean oneself, to make istinja. It is wajib to clean oneself and make every effort to remove from the two body parts any harm. So any harm, such as urine, defecation, or like for a woman during her menstrual cycle, after she becomes pure, to remove all of the harm from those particular areas, this is obligatory. It is a must. So if a brother or a sister is not performing istinja, it's a big problem. It's a big problem for his prayer, because why? In speaking of tahara, that in order for your prayer to be valid, you must have what? Physical and ritual purity. It's not enough that you're just in wudu or you're in ghusl. That here your clothing, your body part, and everything else likewise must be what? Pure. It must be pure. So here the stages of removal impurities are 3. And the Sheikh mentioned this at the tail end, which we just went over. With paper and then water, and this is the best way. This is the best way if you do it this way. Then with water alone, only with water, and then with paper alone, with the conditions. So it has to be something that can actually clean. You know what I mean? It has to be something that can remove what? The actual filth. So something that, cannot remove the filth, that you wouldn't use it in replace of a stone. Like, so for instance, toilet paper removes it. It removes that filth. But now something that doesn't remove the filth, and I can't think of an example of something along the lines of that. Maybe a soggy thing of toilet paper. A soggy, you wet the toilet paper too much, and it becomes like a soggy thing. Here you go wipe yourself with it. What's it going to do? Nothing. You're not going to remove any filth with that. So here it has to be able to remove and has to be able to clean. It has to be something clean and can clean. It is not money, food, or something sacred or harmful to the skin. These are the conditions. So here, food and both aspects. So the bone is from one side because the bone is what? The food of the jinn. So here from that side of it, you wouldn't use it. But then likewise from what? The actual food. You wouldn't, you know what I mean? Common sense. And something that is harmful to the skin. And then also that it must not be from the things that it is required to remove with water. So for instance, that we mentioned the dog lick. Likewise, the blood of the menstrual woman, that here must be used of water, and other things in that regards. Then what is mustahab? What is highly recommended? The supplication of entering and exiting, which the Shaykh Rahimahullah mentioned. What you say before you enter, Bismillah, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuthi wa khaba'ith. And then likewise when you leave out, Ghufranak. And then if you mention this other supplication, Alhamdulillah alladhi adhaba anni adha wa afani, then alhamdulillah, that is acceptable. As long as we know that it is not from the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Entering with the left and exiting with the right. Again, a general proof that the Prophet ﷺ exalted and used things of exaltment with his right and things that were less than with his left. Number 3, the sitting. Sitting is being recommended. Sitting being recommended. Concealment and being removed from the people. So being concealed would actually be under something which is obligatory. It would be under something which is obligatory. So to conceal yourself in that sense would be something that is obligatory. And when cleaning oneself with paper, then with an odd number. So an odd number of wipes. Under the hadith of Salman, that he mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ said to use odd number. Then what is forbidden? Facing or having one's back to the direction of prayer in an open space. Taking the Quran into the place of relieving. So taking the Quran into the place of relieving yourself would be forbidden. It would be haram. If there's no need for it. So what about your phone? Pretty sure majority of the brothers have the Quran on their phone, right? Huh? No, there's no problem with it. It's not the Quran. It's not the Mus'haf. But you don't have it open. It's your phone. It's not the Quran. Remember, the things with the names have the ruling of that thing. You understand? Is that clear? So if that thing is a phone, show me a proof of the prohibition of taking the phone. In a sense, in that regards. But now with the Quran is the Quran, the Mus'haf. So here you have a ruling in that sense, because why? Because the usage of the name Mus'haf, it's the Quran. You would say that's the Quran. But the phone is your phone with an application on it that has the Quran. So it wouldn't be a Mus'haf. Number 3, relieving oneself in the places where the people gather, the masajid, animal holes, the walkways, and under trees that produce fruits, and graveyards. These would be forbidden for an individual to relieve himself in those areas. And that which is highly disliked is talking in the bathroom, using the bathroom facing the wind. So if the wind is blowing you like this way and you use the bathroom that way, it's disliked. Why? Because of the chances of it blowing on you. The whole idea of purity is to remove and protect yourself from impurities getting on you. If you go and urinate into the wind, you're counterproductive. And then likewise on hard floors, something that is hard because of the splashing that it can produce. So those are the things that are disliked in using relieving oneself, or the manners in relieving oneself. So inshallah we will stop here and continue next class with the things that are deemed impure. So what is an impurity, a physical impurity? As far as the nawaqid of wudu, that will come at a later chapter, but the things that are deemed an impurity. So here we will discuss those things what the Shaykh Rahimahullah mentions. If there's any questions, comments, or concerns.
I just have a few points in my book.
Okay, yeah, please.
So you mentioned a few really beneficial points. From them, number one is when you enter the bathroom, you enter with your left foot.
Left foot.
And the hadith of that, as you said, is that there is no specific hadith that the Prophet ﷺ was entered the bathroom with his left foot.
Right.
But the general hadith of Aisha, radiallahu anha, that the Prophet ﷺ used to love using his right fi tana'ulihi, when he would put on his shoes, and his combing his hair, and tahara, and all of his affairs. So Imam Nawawi, he relates about this hadith that this is a proof that generally that the Prophet ﷺ, whenever it came anything that is honorable, the Prophet would use his right, and anything that is not honorable, the Prophet ﷺ would use his left.
So it was the hadith of Aisha.
The hadith of Aisha.
The hadith of Aisha. Remember that.
Yeah. Also, another, when you mentioned earlier, the Prophet you say Bismillah when you enter the bathroom.
Right.
The hadith is the hadith of Ali.
Hadith of Ali.
Where Ali radiallahu anhu, he said that the Prophet said the shield or the cover between the eyes of the jinn and the private parts of the human being when they enter into the bathroom is saying Bismillah. So that is one of the reasons why we say Bismillah, to shield our private parts from the eyes of the jinn. And likewise, when you mentioned the hadith of Anas, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuthi.
It was the hadith of Anas.
Hadith of Anas. So the hadith of Ali is saying Bismillah. The hadith of
Right.
Anas is Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuthi wal-khaba'ith. And just generally, the scholars mentioned that al-khubth, when you say, oh Allah, I seek refuge with you from al-khubth wal-khaba'ith, the khubth is the male of the jinn, and the khaba'ith is from the
Female.
Female of the jinn. So when you say that, you're asking Allah refuge from the male and female of the jinn. And last point, I'm just
Alhamdulillah.
here, afwan, that when you urinate in the people's way, and where people have dhil, seek shade, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, fear the la'ani, the things that bring about the curse of Allah. And they said, what is that? He said, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the things that bring about the curse of Allah is those who relieve themselves in the path of the people and in the shade of the people. So that is a means of bringing about the curse of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Now, barakallahu feek, that's just
Fikum barak.
additional things that I have in my book.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I have a question for you. You said the shield of the eyes of the jinn. That's the hadith of who?
Ali.
Hadith of Ali. Start saying Bismillah.
No. Also, so this somebody's praying still hear the Quran while they're using the bathroom?
That's fine.
That's fine?
Yeah, no problem.
Taking the phone inside the bathroom with the back picture saying the name of Allah, anything.
Yeah, if you take the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's something. Right?
The background pictures sometimes has dua or ayat or anything, and then they take their phone inside with them to the bathroom.
Well, what about using the phone in the bathroom generally?
Yeah, you shouldn't take your, but if you take your phone into the bathroom with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's disliked.
Like in background pictures, as soon as you open the phone.
Yeah, like a wallpaper and it opens up and you have Allah Akbar or something on the back of it. Yeah, it's disliked. It's disliked to have something like that in the bathroom. It's disliked to have something like that in the bathroom.
In reference to the jinn, just say that you have a cat in its litter box
Okay?
in another part of your house, and every morning or so you have to change it. Can it be derived that the jinn frequent these particular areas?
Allah Alam.
Implication is.
Maybe. Allah Alam.
I have a question. What is the ruling on using the phone while using the bathroom?
Disliked. I mean, if anything, it would fall under the dislike because that would fall under the category like talking. Talking under the bathroom, talking in the bathroom would be something that is disliked out of a necessity. Out of a necessity, you could say that it would be okay. But just talking in general, it's highly disliked to do such. It's highly disliked to do such. So by understanding that, to use the phone, it's just weird to me. I mean, ultimately, inside my own self, it's just weird to text somebody or anything while you're using the bathroom. It has an awkwardness to it, for me at least, but if you wanted to put a ruling upon it, it would be something probably under the category like talking, which would be highly disliked. Huh?
From the people that's listening online, someone said, what about only making a dua when you actually intend to use the toilet?
Yeah, that's when you would do it. إِذَا دَخَلَ. So إِذَا دَخَلَ has the meaning of when you have that intention to do that. إِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنِ. So when you have the intention of going into that bathroom, that's when you would say the dua. That's when you would say the dua. When you have the intention of going in. Or if you're out in the open, when you lift your thobe up. If you don't have no structure or any hiding place, you're in the open, and all you can really do is just get away from the people. When you squat to lift your thobe up, that's when you would say the supplication. So it's when you have the intention of using or entering into the bathroom.
If your bathroom is like in the direction of the prayer.
Oh, that's a good point. That is a good point in dealing with that. That here, when facing the Qibla or turning your back to it, this ruling only applies in the open. This ruling only applies in the open. So here, if you have a structure or structures between you and the direction of the prayer, that here there is no problem with that. And that is based upon the hadith of Ibn Umar, radiallahu anhu, when he climbed the wall of his sister's house and he saw the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam facing the Qibla, or had his back to the Qibla. So here, saying that, the scholars mention that the harmony between the two narrations, the prohibition and then the action of the Prophet ﷺ facing, is that when it is only in a structured area, meaning that there are walls or something along the lines of that it would be permissible to do such.
So that would apply to like the graveyards too. Because you can't pray in the graveyard, and you can't pray towards the graveyard, right?
Well, I mean,
Like you got to structure up so.
yeah.
So you mesh it so it wouldn't.
No, it wouldn't have any effect on you.
So I have another question pertaining to the cat.
Okay.
So what if you're praying inside of a room where the cat has his litter box in, but it's clean, but like he might have just used the bathroom?
Well, inshallah, we'll delay that to the next class because that's going to be dealing with the what do you call it? The feces of the animal. The feces of the animal, what is the ruling of it? Is it pure or impure? But inshallah, you should be okay. You should be okay. Anything else? So, nothing else? So, inshallah, was...
That will fall back into like the same thing as the diapers, right?
In what sense?
Touching some.
Like touching it?
Yeah.
To a degree, yeah. So, if you... I don't get it.
I'm saying as though like breaking like wudu.
Okay? No, it wouldn't break your wudu. It wouldn't break your wudu if you touch it, if you touch the feces in that sense. But you would have to, obviously clean your hands and stuff like that. Remove any athar of the impurification. So inshallah, we'll stop here and continue next week. And review, brothers. Always review. Like we mentioned in our previous, before going in, that one of the ways of dealing with that is that you always want to take opportunity, your time to review. Gather with the brothers. Take maybe 15, 20 minutes. What's this? What's that? What's this? Have the book. Close the book. What did the sheikh say about this? What did the sheikh say about that? Because why? These are the foundations. These are the buildings of the foundations, so that when you do give the opportunity or afforded the opportunity to go overseas, you have a foundation now that you have that now you can build on with a sheikh, with an alim. And if you don't have that, then you're going to be wishy-washy all through and through. So here, always take the time to review, go over your notes, go over your brother's notes. What did he understand? What did they understand? What's this? Come to this and that. So it's on your head. It's on your head. So that when somebody does come, like Salman, the Jew, came to Salman, and he said, man, taught you everything, even the bathroom, to mock the companion. That he had what? He had the barahin right there. Naam, the Prophet ﷺ said A, B, C, D, and E. And refuted him with what? With evidences and proofs. This is the deen. This is what jurisprudence is. It's what? Masail wa dala'il. It's masail wa dala'il. Issues and proofs. Issues and proofs. So if we just come to the class, sit, okay, yeah, got it, boom, keep it pushing, we're not really getting the issue, and we're definitely not getting the proofs. So alhamdulillah, the brother Muhammad, Hafidhullah, he mentioned our proofs, the hadith of Ali, the hadith of Aisha, the hadith of Anas. These will be mentioned again. So make sure that we have the proofs, the companion if we can, and what is the meaning of the hadith. So we will stop here. Ilahuna subhanaka Allahumma bihamdihi ashhadu la ilaha illallah astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh.